Okay, so one of the techniques I use when beginning my class or starting a lesson is something called the I notice statements. And so, for example, once my kids have all logged in, they're ready to go. So to get them to kind of focus on me, I will start off with saying like, oh, I noticed Mia has her pencil in her hand and she's ready to get started. Or I noticed that Romeo is sitting still. Or I noticed that Lena is wearing a bow on her head, a beautiful bow. And so it's a way of like roll call, but also allowing them to realize that I know that they're there and I see them. So they're not, invisible. Um, Another way would be to do some warm up videos with song, especially if I'm introducing phonics or math skills. That would be another way that I've used to catch their attention. And then towards the end of last semester, I noticed that um, they were able to raise their hands with the Teams tool. And so once we trained on how to raise their hands virtually, they were able to at least raise their hands quietly. So during my lesson, they're all muted. If they had something to say, they would just click on the raise your hand and they were done. And what also helped was using those 3-prong objectives because I have them read the objectives. That was towards the end of the semester with a new group. We'll see, but little things like that, having them involved as much as possible, using tools like Smart Learning Suite helped me a lot because I could duplicate and have them do the activities individually, so I know that they're focused on the lessons and I can check on them live while I'm doing the lessons. So having the I notice statements was definitely a good icebreaker for every beginning of the lesson. And so yes, and so to close off, would either sing a song or would talk about what are our plans for the next day, just to just rewind or do like breathing exercises to kind of unwind, rewind, and just de-stress. And I always told them that I loved them, and so it was a good way to just end the day or end the session. So yeah.
Good morning, Crockett family. It's good to see you. Good to be back. Well, my assignment today is basically to share with you how I get children engaged at the beginning of my lessons. Well, one of the things that, of course, that guides my lessons is the TEKS or the skill that I'm focusing on. And I use also the depth and complexity icons that is full of different types of questions and ways you can ask a student. So I find a provocative picture that I can just kind of put up there, and children are allowed to use the tools. I give them about a minute or two to kind of think about it and write in the chat because, in third graders coming up, from second, they're still learning how, to type in their responses. So I use that to have them type in their responses, and of course they can go back and look at it at a later date, and I can respond. And now if I want to get them engaged, or say they have a question or something that they would like to ask me, or if they would like to make a comment, then they once again use the Teams tools, and they can click on raise your hand, and of course their hand comes up and I can see that they have a question or they would like to make a comment or a statement, and I can call on them that way. And that keeps it really managed where kids are not just all talking. The lines are always, of course, muted in a certain way, and then they can unmute it, or I can unmute them and allow them to speak. So, whatever works best for you, this is what works best for me, showing them a very way out there picture and putting a question to that picture and then giving them time to answer it. So I hope that helps someone. You all have a great day, and I'm looking for great things.
Hello. Today I will be talking about how students asked for permission during my class. What I found very, very useful was as they come in, I have a slide put up, literally and specifically numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, stating things to do as soon as they come in. So, first thing, you come in. Second thing, you mute your mic. Number 3, you find a comfortable spot to be all ears and all eyes. And number 4, if you have any questions, click the hand emoji. On my end, I have the class roster of teams in the Teams app. as they are coming in, they are falling in alphabetical order. So if they have any questions, I'm able to see them and I'm immediately responding to them. What is your question? Before we get started with the lesson, I always ask the question, are you ready? And do you have any questions before I start the lesson? Just to clarify things, if somebody's internet lagging or if they can't hear or if they're not really set in their area to learn and grow. So that helped me a lot. Then after I taught my lesson, I would stop and ask the question again. Does anybody have any questions? Again, on my end, I would have the class roster displayed so I can immediately see who had a question and who did not have a question. And eventually, as we ended the lesson as well, I asked, does anybody have any questions? Do I need to reteach anything, so that I can release the group of students that did pick up the entire lesson into their very own activity, and then and keep those that did not hear the lesson, or if their internet lagged or something happened, I was able to stay with them in the virtual classroom and reteach everything that they did not hear or catch or understood. So that helped a lot, and eventually I was able to release everybody into their very own independent activity. Thank you.
Hello, Crockett family. We all got caught in this new situation. We were just asked not just to deliver a successful lesson, but also make the students accountable for their learning. So when all this started at the beginning of the virtual classes, I started with a mini lesson, followed by a guided activity. At that point, the students were dismissed and they were supposed to work independently and then submit the work to me during that day or maybe the following day. I was noticing that just 30% of my students were complying with my requirement. So obviously I had a problem. So I met with my team and together we were brainstorming, and then we decided that I was missing a check-in for understanding. I was missing the exit ticket. So I modified my lessons, and now they still have the mini lesson. They still have a guided activity, but now I have what is called the online exit ticket. What happens here is the students must stay in the session online with me doing their independent work, or exit ticket is just similar to the work that they will be doing later during the day by themselves. With this, the students they know now what to expect when they are working by themselves. So this exit ticket worked nicely, and after that, the rate of students turning in work went from 30% to 80%. So success.